Yo, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. And today we got the new version 4.3 first phase banners that we're going to be discussing on whether you should pull or not. We have Navia, Ayaka, and much more. Now, before we get started with the video, make sure you guys hit that like button as well as subscribe to my channel for more of this type of content. Don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you guys don't miss out my latest uploads or whenever I go live on my streams. Alright, now on to the disclaimer. Everything I'm about to talk about in this video is all intended for meta purposes or to those who are unsure of what to spend their premium gems on. If you like these random characters by design or gameplay, then feel free to disregard everything I say in this video or go for the characters you like. Remember, this is a gacha game, so you should always pull for your favorite characters. And now let's check out the banners. Alright, so here are the banners, and we got Navia and Ayaka as the 5 stars, and for the 4 stars we got Candace, Rosaria, and Sucrose. Okay, interesting lineup here. Okay, so let's start off with the 4 stars from top to bottom. Starting with Candace, to me she suffers the same issue as Chongyun, which is her utility being limited for a niche design. She has Hydro Infusion plus decent Hydro DPS, especially with certain constellations. Well, that's about it. I will say though, in comparison with her and Chongyun, I do prefer her over him just because her niche has more uses and opens up to more team comps. She decently fits well in Bloom or Electrocharge or Freeze teams. As long as you have someone who can take advantage of her Hydro Infusion, then she will be helpful. Otherwise, she is an okay unit and I will use her if you know what you're doing. Up next is Rosaria, which I have explained a bunch of times now, so if you want my more in-depth explanation of Rosaria, check out my previous banner breakdown playlist featuring her on the top right corner. So Rosaria is still the same. I will still argue she is probably the best 4-star CRYO sub DPS, and no, Charlotte doesn't count. Nothing too much to say about her, to be honest. She's still great at what she does and is a solid option for Melt or Fridge teams. She's also a great team player for physical teams if you have her C6. Overall, Rosaria is still solid. And lastly, we have Sucrose, same thing as Rosaria. In terms of her team compositions, she hasn't changed much, but at the very least, she still stands out as one of the best 4 stars in the game. Her elemental mastery buffs and swirling capabilities is still powerful, plus like I always say with animal supports, she always has potential with the more characters get released. If you do get her and you don't have any of the other 5-star animal supports, then Sucrose becomes, in my opinion, a must build, but if not, building her is optional. Alright, so those are the 4 stars. Now let's move on to the 5 stars. First up, we got Navia. She is our first and last GEO character for this year. Yeah, no joke. They literally haven't released a new GEO character since Yunjin. Like, damn! GEO do be a dead element, but perhaps Navia could change that. Like what I always say with new characters, especially with damage dealers, it's hard to judge how Navia will fit into the meta, since she is not out yet. But in terms of her kit plus her unfortunate element, it's unlikely she'll be a valuable unit to own, such as recently Farina. She is going to be for those who either love Navia's design or gameplay. Unless they decided to make more characters that synergize with Navia that could boost her damage ceiling even further, then maybe her pool value will increase. For now, she's going to be for the Navia enjoyers. Up next is Ayaka. Now, for those who knows me personally, I would already say that she's automatically a must pull, but since this is a non-biased video, I gotta be honest about her. In terms of her DPS as well as how she fits into the meta, I will say that she has slightly fallen off, and that's not because she's weak or anything. It's the fact that CRYO hasn't gotten much usage as back then due to the introduction of Dendro plus more team compositions from Fontaine. Sure, you could say that Fridge team comp exists, but other than that, she's not as dominant as she once was. Otherwise, she is still, I would argue, the best CRYO DPS. Her infinite CRYO infusion and burst DPS are still powerful. Personally, I would go for her if you lack CRYO coverage. And those were the character banners. Now let's move on to the weapon banner. And here's the weapon banner, which from first glance, it could be really good or it could be an okay banner. Now, like usual, let's start with the 4 stars from right to left. We got Akuoumaru, which could be really good or could be alright for some people. And the reason I say that is that not too many characters can fully utilize this besides Hila or Beidou. Maybe Navia could, but this weapon focuses on increasing burst damage based on total team energy cost. But if you do get this plus refinements, its value for usage increases. Next up is Favoni's Codex, which I swear I talked about this weapon recently. I mean, it's the same as the other Favoni's weapons. Overall, team energy particles is still really good, but since it's a catalyst, it's not going to see much usage compared to other Favoni's weapons due to the amount of competitive weapon options that are available. Still a solid weapon though. Up next is Dragon's Bane, which, oh my god, I swear I talked about this weapon 1,000 times. It's still good. Great passive for Pyro DPS or EM stat stick. Then we have the Flute. Finally, we have the Mouun's Mouun, which is a bit worse than the Claymore. Same passive as the Claymore, uses with burst damage dealers such as Venti or Tartaglia, or anybody that can deal high burst damage will like this bow. And those are the 4 stars. Now let's move on to the 5 stars. Alright, so starting off with the Verdict, which first off, the fact that we have a battle axe is still freaking sick to me. And second off, Verdict as a weapon name is Kind of funny, not gonna lie. Now for the stats here, it has a base attack of 674, and the crit rate is at 22.1%. So since the base attack is really high, the crit rate is a lot lower, but it's still crit, so it's gonna be really good. And for the passive here, Many Oaths of the Dawn and Dusk, it increases attack by 20%. When characters in your party obtain elemental shards from crystallized reactions, the equipping character will gain 1 seal, increasing elemental skill damage by 18%. The seal lasts for 15 seconds, and the equipper may have up to 2 seals at once. All of the equipper's seals will disappear 0.2 seconds after the elemental skill deals damage. So I like the first half of this weapon's passive, but the rest doesn't sound usable for any Claymore user right now. Maybe Dia, although majority of her damage comes from her burst. So unfortunately this weapon is niche, but who knows? We could get more elemental skill, claim more damage dealers. Oh, and forgot to mention that you also have to collect a crystal from crystallization reaction, which means you need to get at least 1 Geo character in your party to consistently trigger crystallize. Otherwise, it's a great attack stat stick. And lastly, we have Mistsplitter Reforged. For the stats here, we got a base attack at 674, and crit damage is at 44.1%. Pretty much the same as Verdict, except it's the opposite in terms of crit stat. So now for the passive here, gains a 12% elemental damage bonus for every element and receive the Might of the Mistsplitter's emblem. As stacks from levels 1, 2, and 3, Mistsplitter's emblem provides a 8, 16, and 28% elemental damage bonus for the character's elemental type. The character will obtain 1 stack of Mistsplitter's emblem in each of the following scenarios. Normal attack deals elemental damage, stack lasts for 5 seconds. Casting elemental burst, stack lasts 10 seconds. Energy is less than 100%. Stack disappears when energy is full. Each stack's duration is calculated independently. This is still one of the best 5-star weapons in the game. Great stats plus additional elemental damage bonus is highly valuable. Although for most characters you won't be able to trigger the first condition, but the other 2 are easily feasible. Even if you can't fully trigger the passive, same as the Verdict, this is a powerful stat stick. And those are the banners we just broke down. Now for my overall thoughts on are these banners worth to pull for. For the character banners, it's going to depend on what you're looking for in your account. Do you need help with GEO or CRYO coverage? I would personally say that CRYO is still more important to prioritize. Unless you already have tons of CRYO coverage, then you can go for Navia, vice versa. Then for the weapon banner, I would only recommend to those who are planning on pulling for Navia. If you want to invest more wishes to Navia, then her signature weapon of course is a great option, because running alongside it, you have Mistsplitter Reforged, which if you do end up losing Verdict, at least you have a higher chance of obtaining Mistsplitter Reforged. But for non-Navia pullers, I would skip. Overall, great value for Navia watchers. And that's everything. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit that like button, as well as subscribe to the channel for more of this type of content. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss out on my latest uploads or whenever I go live on my streams. And that is pretty much everything all I got. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay epic and peace out.